Let's briefly talk about maintaining access. So when it comes to maintaining access, that means that as an attacker, if something were to happen to the machine that we are on, we have a way to gain access back to that machine. Now, say for example, we're in the middle of working on a shell and the user decides to shut down the computer and go home for the day. Well, guess what? We're going to lose that shell. And we could have it to where, maybe if they go home and they turn it on for work, then we have access back to it regardless of where they're at. And we could attempt to maintain access, via command and control. And there's a lot of these advanced techniques. Now, typically, as a penetration tester, you're not going to be doing this. The most maintaining access that you're going to do is going to be right down here. Perhaps you get on a machine and you're in an environment where it's a pen test, not a red team assessment, a pen test. The environment's not great. We're just up against it. They're not catching most of the stuff you're doing. You can pretty easily add a user to a local machine. And then guess what? You can use ps-exec or do whatever you want to go back to that machine and have a shell on it pretty easily. So this is what I like to do for persistence. I just like to add a user. I don't like to go and do crazy things. So all these persistent scripts, like here's a persistent script here, the run persistence-h. This is all Metasploit, what I'm showing you here. Now, this is dangerous because what you're doing here is you are opening a port on a machine, and that port has zero authentication mechanism. It's literally just an open port. When you connect to it, you get a shell on the machine. Super dangerous to run this. And you really have to have a reason to do it. I have never felt that I had a reason to do it on a pen test. Now that's just me. Other people might disagree, but in my opinion, I don't have a reason. The other thought is that you can run a scheduled task. So basically what happens is you have malware on the computer and this task will check in every so often, say every 5 minutes. So that way, if the computer gets rebooted, the task runs again, and while it runs, you get the shell back to your machine, and guess what? You have access again. We typically don't worry about this, all right? So this is just concepts I wanted to show you and talk about because they are part of the 5 stages of hacking. In my opinion, this falls way more in line with red teaming, which is a lot more advanced than pen testing, and a lot more of a quiet skill set where pen testing is kind of being loud, and adding a user is definitely being loud. But most of the time, you're going to go up against clients where being loud is perfectly fine. I would say 75% of the time or greater, your client's not going to catch this. So keep that in mind. Just understand what maintaining access is. It's not really in scope for what we're doing or what we're trying to achieve. And my guess is you probably won't see this come up on an interview. And if you do, you can talk about scheduled tasks. You can talk about adding a user and just kind of understand what these are. But I really do doubt that you're going to be asked to do this on a majority of your assessments. So that's it for this lesson. We're going to go ahead and move on to pivoting, and then we'll talk about cleanup and we'll be done.